Hello, welcome to my Muay Thai cardio instruction video, not to be confused with the workout videos. This is for those that are new to Muay Thai or kickboxing in general. Please be sure to check with a physician before starting this or any other exercise program. If you feel you already know about cardio kickboxing enough, you can go straight to the workout video. But I do encourage you to watch all of this one as you get a little bit better instruction, and I think you get more out of the workouts if you actually watch through my instruction videos as well. So let's get to it. Hello, welcome to Follow Me Exercise. It's Tony once again. This is my introductory episode for my cardio Muay Thai workouts. In this episode, I'm going to be covering equipment, stances, and punching. After this video, you'll be ready for the first workout video, which is going to be using just upper body for punches. Let's talk about equipment. You don't actually need any equipment to do any of the workouts that I'm going to have. You can actually do them without anything. Just you have to have enough space to do it. So as long as you can clear out enough space, you'll have the ability to do so. I do recommend that you get proper flooring of some sort. This is not really something that's very nice to be doing on just like concrete floors. Certainly not carpet because it's going to mess up your feet. So padded flooring would be preferable if you can get it. Also, if you can get a heavy bag, there's hanging heavy bags, freestanding heavy bags, body opponent freestanding heavy bags. If you could, I would recommend getting a heavy bag that is full length so that you can actually practice your low kicks on. Also important is safety gear in terms of your hands. So hand wraps, boxing gloves, MMA gloves. If you can, preferably get the ones that actually provide a little bit more wrist support as well. But again, you don't actually need any of those things. You can punch and kick in the air. So Muay Thai is a sport that comes from Thailand. It's basically kickboxing. I'm only going to be teaching things regarding the exercise components of it, but I'm going to include as much of actual true Muay Thai as I can so that you can learn a little bit more about the actual martial art as well at the same time. All right, let's go over stances. So there's basically part of the Muay Thai philosophy is keep it simple, stupid. Because in Muay Thai, they took a lot of their traditional fighting styles and they adapted it to rules in the ring, and they wanted to do what worked in the ring. So they did a lot of just simplification and getting that simplified movement really, really good. So two basic stances that I'll be using throughout all of the videos. Orthodox stance, southpaw stance. Orthodox stance just looks like this. One foot is forward, one foot is to the rear. But in this case, it's the left foot that's going to be forward and the right foot that's going to be to the rear. If you notice, it's a very square type of stance. There's only a little bit of a turn off to the side. My foot points a little bit off to the side as well. I want to keep my guards up. This is always very important. So the guard up position looks like this, where my right hand is towards my right chin, as close to it as I can, and my left hand comes off of my chin just a little bit like this. Knees really shouldn't be straight, they should be slightly bent, but in Muay Thai we end up getting really flat-footed. So we end up in a somewhat awkward stance and sometimes a long stance as well. Let's get a little bit closer so you can see hand position like that. So that's basic fighting stance, orthodox stance. Now, southpaw stance is exactly the same kind of stance, except you're going to be having your right leg forward, left foot back. The hand position is changed, so instead of the right hand being more towards the chin, the left hand is being more towards the chin. Again, it's not very far away from for my purposes of what I'm teaching, I'm doing very basic here, I'm going to keep it really close by. Just be sure to understand there's lots of different other stances and guards in Muay Thai. You can learn those on your own. There's plenty of other YouTube videos that will show that. But for my purposes, very simple. All right. I also teach both Southpaw and Orthodox because I want us going back and forth between the two because I feel like that's important for coordination purposes. Again, I'm teaching more of exercise rather than just pure outright mechanics. Movement, this is very important. Once in your stance, you should always have at least some space in between your legs. And you want to be able to maintain that space at all times when you're moving around. So if I'm going to be going forward, I'm maintaining that space. So I'm keeping my balance. So I'm going to go forward, the lead leg goes forward, then the rear leg. If I go into reverse, the rear leg goes first, then the lead leg. So this is orthodox, moving forward and backwards. Same principles in place for Southpaw stance, except now everything's in reverse. It's a mirror image. So my lead leg now happens to be my right leg. That goes forward, then the rear. Again, maintaining space in between at all times. Let me do a side view. Going forward and back. Always keeping space between the legs. Also should be noted about the stances, we never want to get too far like this, where we're on a straight line. We want there to be at least some space in between the feet as well. All right, next, moving laterally. If I'm going to be going this direction to my left, again, it's lead leg first, then the rear leg. Going towards the right, my rear leg is going that way, but in this case, this is leading. So going left looks like this. Left and right movement. Now, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of instances where people will do a cross step over. This happens in Muay Thai, but for my purposes, for just simple beginning stances and movement, this is fine. Same thing happens in the Southpaw stance. Movement occurs like this, where the leg goes out first, followed by the other one. Okay. These motions are all fine and good, but they don't really care too much when we're using a heavy bag. Instead, what you're going to be seeing is a combination of all the movements I just showed together in order to do circling around the bag. All right, I'm in my orthodox stance. First strike is going to be the jab. So what I'm going to be doing is going a straight forward motion with my lead hand, in this case my left, and I'll be turning and pivoting my body ever so slightly to go with it. Let's look at it from this side. And this side. All right, let's talk a little bit about form. Every time that I throw the jab, I want my other hand to come back towards my face, because every time that I'm throwing the jab, there's a possibility of a strike coming through, so I want this hand up ready to guard as necessary. Some schools will even make you basically put your wrist right up against your head every time that you're throwing a strike. But I find that gets kind of tedious and hard to do when you're trying to do exercise purposes for cardio. So that's the jab. And the jab is not supposed to be going real slow, it's supposed to be going fast like that. The jab can also be done from southpaw stance. Now instead of my left hand throwing the jab, it's my right hand. So it basically looks like that. You're of course welcome to watch all sorts of boxing instruction drills and other videos on YouTube. There's lots of great instruction for throwing all the different boxing strikes as well, so you're welcome to do that as well and learn more. Let's look at what the jab looks like on the heavy bag. Pretty simple. Again, I like, if you can't get access to a heavy bag or something to hit, it's nice because you get that feedback going into your hand. It tends to give you a lot more understanding, proprioception of actually how the strike is hitting. This heavy bag in particular is quite soft. Know that not all heavy bags are the same depending on what they're filled with, so you can actually hurt your hand quite a lot if the surface that you're punching into is hard. Let's go over targets for the jab. The main target is the face. Okay, pretty straightforward, but not always. There's also just punches directly to the body as well. Sometimes you just punch, the jab is used more as a distraction than anything else to set up other strikes. Okay, now let's talk about the cross. So we get back into our orthodox stance, left leg forward, right leg rear, guard up. So for the cross, it's not going to be the front hand that strikes, it'll be the rear hand that strikes. So there's more of a pivot with this as well. That's what the cross looks like. It's supposed to go fast, like that. Let's see it from the side. This is a power shot. It takes longer for it to get there, but because the way that you're moving your hips, it hits harder. Let's look at it against the heavy bag. Also note that for the mechanics, when I'm throwing the cross, my other hand is coming up to protect my face in the event that a strike gets through. I end up getting lazy when I'm doing cardio, and you'll see some bad form. So do as I say, not as I do. Strikes for the cross, locations. Of course, the face, body, all perfectly fine targets. If you're going to be hitting to the body, sometimes what you have to do is you're going to alter your stance a little bit. So you're still in an orthodox stance, but I drop down a little bit to make it easier to have that strike land. You don't necessarily want to just go down or up like that when you're striking. If you have the option to actually come down lower, go ahead and use that. Know that that sets you up for other problems in terms of defense though. All right, let's go over the cross from southpaw stance. It's the same looking thing. Turning of the body, hitting with the hand that's now the rear, which is now the left. Again, my guard comes and replaces up against my face. Looks like this. This side. Like that from that side. All right, now we're going to do hooks. Get into stance. We've got hooks from both sides. So a hook looks like this. The hooks that I am going to be doing, you'll see me doing, is I always do my hooks with my palm facing down. In boxing, they do a lot of hooks with the palm facing yourself. Neither are wrong. I tend to do palm down because from a mechanical standpoint, it puts your ulna in the proper position to throw an elbow. So if you're going on muscle memory, it's easier, I feel, to learn how to do the hook in this position to begin with, so you don't have to relearn how to throw elbows in this position later. So palm down is the way I'm doing it. But if you do it the other way, you're not wrong. It's just not necessarily the most proficient way to learn it from Muay Thai. The hook also, there's versions of the hook that are really big, these big haymakers, but for my purposes, I don't like to throw those. For cardiovascular purposes, that'll be looking like that. Again, on this strike, you're going to be turning, and this is going to be turning even more so than with the jab. So jab turns like this, hook turns like that. And it comes from where it is. It's not supposed to be something that's a big wind up. It comes right from where it is. Let's look at it from this angle on the bad. And let's look at this angle on the body opponent bag. Now, hooks can be fired to face as well as the body. And notice guard comes up every time that you're throwing the strike to protect yourself. Same thing for southpaw stance. That's a hook, lead hook from southpaw stance. And you notice, just as with on the cross, you come down a little bit to get that shot to the body. All right, next is the rear hook. Into my orthodox stance, guards up. This is what it looks like. Palm is facing down. Guard comes up to replace. And it comes from basically from where I'm at. It's not a big wind up. You can, there's certainly instances where that comes into play, but a quick, short hook for the purposes that I'm having for my teaching, just like that. Again, there's a lot of turn and twist of the lower body for the rear hook. That's what it looks like on the bad. Targets, of course, face and body. Going direct to body, drop down lower. Let's do southpaw stance. Again, it's the same thing, same concept. Again, this is your rear leg, or your rear hand. Side. Now, with both hooks you might notice that in the air, I'll have these really nice tight hooks that are close to my body. But on the bag or on the opponent bag, they come out further. This is another good reason why it's nice to work on a bag, because you're actually learning true mechanics. It's hard to actually simulate in the air doing hooks, because that's not the actual distance that opponents are probably going to be at. They're probably going to be more at this distance, in this range, when you're trying to throw this punch. So it actually turns out that you're throwing longer strikes. All right, now let's do uppercuts. 2 uppercuts. Lead uppercut and the rear uppercut. you're probably getting used to this by now. Lead uppercut's gonna be with the front hand. In my orthodox stance, lead uppercut, I'm actually going to drop my weight down. The hand drops down a bit and then comes up. The power of this strike is from the legs, not from how well you can move the arm up. This is not nearly as powerful as what the legs are actually doing. Looks like this on the bag. Looks like this on the body of the bottom. And again, uppercut, no head or body. Typically the uppercut is going in towards the chin. Same concepts in play for your guard as well. When you're throwing the strike, the guard comes up on the other side. Let's get into southpaw stance. My right leg's forward. Sorry, lead. Looks like this. Again, it's a strike that's going up like that. Notice on the bag, it's not quite the same as what it looks like in the air or on the dummy. My strike is kind of going in that way as opposed to directly up. If you were to really do it with really proper form, your hand would just slide right up the bag. It's kind of hard to do that when you're trying to actually throw strikes in conjunction with a cardio workout. So you'll see me doing it at an angle that's not always the most proper angle for the strike. Looks like that. Looks like that. Again, guard gets in place. All right, rear uppercut. We're going to get into the orthodox stance. So my left leg is forward, left hand is forward. Same thing, I'm going to bob down, try to drive my fist upward. Looks like that. And southpaw, same concepts. And again, I do encourage everybody to go to other YouTube sites, see how other instructors throw these strikes. I'm perfectly fine with that. Muay Thai is also somewhat very much open to learning as much material from other styles and teachers. So feel free to peruse YouTube for more clarification. If you need more clarification too, I can also go over these strikes in much more detail. So just leave it in the comments section. I'll try to put videos to demonstrate things a little bit more clear. All right, so we learned all these strikes, we learned all these movements, but for the purposes of actually getting a good cardio workout going, it's all about combinations. So let's go over the 4 basic combinations for boxing that I'm going to be using. The first, just to let you know, I'm using a number system. It's the number system that I learned when I learned Muay Thai. It's not necessarily something that's written in stone. So different instructors, different schools, or even different, even in boxing itself, they denote their number system differently. So this is, make sure that you understand that when you go into any kind of gym, that they're going to have their own system in place. Just know what that system is before you start spouting out your mouth that, oh, Tony said this. No, don't worry about it. Learn their system, okay? So for my purposes, for my system 1 through 4, simple number combinations. You're going to see them over and over and over again in the cardio workouts that I'm going to do. So the first, number one, is just real simple. It's the jab. That's it. So one. So if you say, you hear me saying, you know, you're going to throw ones and threes or ones and uppercuts, you know what I'm talking about. I use the number one and jab interchangeably quite a lot. Number two is the jab cross. Okay? Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. 2 punches in a row. That's number two. Number three is the jab, cross, lead hook. Looks like this. That's number three. All right, number four, pretty straightforward. 4 strikes in a row. The jab, the cross, the lead hook, and another cross. That's a combination 4. Okay, so I use these combinations in the first workout that I'm going to be filming, as well as the other boxing strikes combined with the movement. You've learned quite a lot in just one video. Try to take what you've learned here, do the workout. I'll be posting more instruction videos, more workouts. I intend just to keep building on this. So you'll learn quite a lot of Muay Thai throughout all the instruction on these videos that I'm going to be posting. So be sure to come back to the site to learn more. So you can do that by subscribing, hitting the bell, commenting, and I hope to see you next at the first workout post. See ya.